One evening, as the moon rose over the ocean, Baraka and Amani found themselves alone by the shore. The waves lapped gently at their feet, and the night was warm. Baraka took Amani's hand, his heart pounding in his chest. "Amani," he whispered, "I have traveled far for you. I cannot live without you by my side." Amani looked into his eyes, torn between her duty to her people and her growing love for Baraka. "But what of Kivoi? He is a great chief. My people need me here." Baraka's grip tightened. "We can live tonight. We can sail across the waters and live together in Kahawa. I will protect you always." Amani knew the risk, but her heart ached with longing. She had never felt so alive. In that moment, she made her choice. She would live with Baraka. They fled that night, sailing across the ocean under the cover of darkness. The stars guided them, and the wind carried them swiftly toward Kahawa. But their escape did not go unnoticed. When Kivoi awoke to find his wife gone, his rage shook the very ground. He summoned his warriors and vowed to bring Amani back, no matter the cost. Long ago, when gods and spirits roamed the earth, there was a magnificent city known as Kahawa, nestled deep within the Maasai lands of Tanzania. Kahawa was protected by tall, sturdy walls and ruled by the wise and just chief Mtemi. His youngest son, Baraka, was a carefree prince loved by all, but unaware that a single choice that he made would lead to the fall of his great city. The story began when a great feast was held by the gods on the sacred slopes of Mount Kilimanjaro. But the goddess of discord, Migawana, was not invited. Furious at being excluded, she cast a golden cowrie shell among the gods, inscribed with the words, "For the most beautiful." Instantly, 3 goddesses stepped forward to claim it. Mamandunge, the queen of the gods; Waridi, the goddess of wisdom and battle; and Nia, the goddess of love and beauty. Unable to decide, the god of all creation, Ziku, chose not to settle the matter and instead appointed Baraka, the prince of Kahawa, to decide. It was a time of peace in the Maasai lands, where the winds whispered through the tall grass and the cattle grazed under the watchful eyes of their herders. Baraka, the youngest son of Chief Mtemi, roamed the plains with his spear in hand, his eyes full of adventure and wonder. Deep in his heart, Baraka longed for more. His spirit thirsted for something beyond the endless plains, though he did not know what that was yet. One day, as Baraka tended to his father's cattle near the sacred hills of Kilimanjaro, he saw 3 women approach. They were not ordinary women. Their presence was overwhelming, their beauty radiant. These were goddesses, Mamandunge, Waridi, and Nia, each more powerful than any mortal could imagine. Baraka fell to his knees, bowing in awe. "We have come to you, young Baraka," said Mamandunge, her voice as strong as thunder, "to settle a dispute." Baraka, his heart racing, looked up. "What dispute, great one?" Mamandunge held out a golden cowrie shell, glowing brightly in the sunlight. "This shell is to be given to the most beautiful among us. You will decide." Baraka's mind swirled with confusion. Who was he to judge the beauty of gods? But before he could protest, Waridi stepped forward, her spear gleaming in the sun. "Choose me," Waridi said, her voice sharp and confident, "and I will make you the greatest warrior the Maasai have ever known. Your name will live forever in songs and tales." Baraka, fascinated but unsure, hesitated. Before he could answer, Mamandunge spoke again. "Pick me, Baraka," Mamandunge said, her eyes piercing, "and I will make you the ruler of all the lands. No one will challenge your strength. Your people will never know hunger or fear." Baraka nodded, considering her offer. But then Nia, the goddess of love and beauty, stepped forward. Her voice was soft and melodic, like the rustling of leaves in a gentle breeze. "Baraka," she said, "if you choose me, I will give you the love of the most beautiful woman in the world. She will love you more than life itself." Baraka's heart skipped a beat at the mention of love. He was young, and the promise of such love stirred something deep within him. His spirit yearned for adventure, for passion, for a love that would make him whole. Without hesitation, he handed the cowrie shell to Nia, choosing love over power and glory. Nia smiled, her eyes twinkling like stars. "You have chosen wisely, Baraka. The woman I speak of is Amani of Pwani. She is as beautiful as the sea that touches her homeland, and she will love you as no other." But Baraka knew this was no simple promise. Amani was already married to the powerful chief Kivoi of the Giriama people. She lived far from the Maasai lands, by the vast waters of the Indian Ocean. Still, Baraka's heart was set. He would find her, win her love, and bring her back to Kahawa, the great city of the Maasai. Baraka traveled for many days and nights, crossing plains, forests, and rivers until he reached the coastal lands of Pwani. The air smelled of salt, and the sound of the waves crashing against the shores was like music to his ears. When he arrived in Kivoi's village, he was welcomed as an honored guest, for the Maasai and the Giriama had long been allies. Amani was more beautiful than Baraka had imagined. Her skin glowed like the evening sun, and her laughter was like the song of birds. She was kind, gentle, and wise, but she was also bound to Kivoi, a man who was feared and respected across the lands. For days, Baraka and Amani exchanged only glances, but in those silent moments, something deep and powerful grew between them. Amani had never felt such passion, such excitement. Baraka was different from the men she knew. He was wild, adventurous, and full of life. She could not help but be drawn to him. One evening, as the moon rose over the ocean, Baraka and Amani found themselves alone by the shore. The waves lapped gently at their feet, and the night was warm. Baraka took Amani's hand, his heart pounding in his chest. "Amani," he whispered, "I have traveled far for you. I cannot live without you by my side." Amani looked into his eyes, torn between her duty to her people and her growing love for Baraka. "But what of Kivoi? He is a great chief. My people need me here." Baraka's grip tightened. "We can live tonight. We can sail across the waters and live together in Kahawa. I will protect you always." Amani knew the risk, but her heart ached with longing. She had never felt so alive. In that moment, she made her choice. She would live with Baraka. They fled that night, sailing across the ocean under the cover of darkness. The stars guided them, and the wind carried them swiftly toward Kahawa. But their escape did not go unnoticed. When Kivoi awoke to find his wife gone, his rage shook the very ground. He summoned his warriors and vowed to bring Amani back, no matter the cost. The Giriama people, united under Kivoi's command, gathered their forces. They prepared for war, for this was no longer just about Amani. It was about pride, honor, and the betrayal of trust. The call for revenge echoed across the coastal lands, and soon tribes from the mountains and plains joined Kivoi's cause. A great war was brewing, and it will shake the foundations of Kahawa itself. Back in Kahawa, Chief Mtemi welcomed Amani, though he too sensed the coming storm. The elders of the Maasai council whispered of curses, of the wrath of the gods, but Mtemi trusted his son, and Baraka in turn trusted the strength of Kahawa's walls and the loyalty of its warriors. Days passed, and the tension in the air grew thick. Word of the approaching Giriama army reached Kahawa, and the Maasai prepared for battle. Baraka knew the war was his doing, but he did not regret his choice. His love for Amani was worth any price, even the destruction of his people's greatest city. The Giriama army, led by Kivoi, arrived at the gates of Kahawa with thousands of warriors, their spears gleaming in the sun. They demanded the return of Amani, but Mtemi refused. He stood firm, declaring that Kahawa would never surrender to threats or fear. And so the siege began. For years, the Giriama and their allies camped outside Kahawa's walls, cutting off supplies and waiting for the Maasais to weaken. Inside the city, food grew scarce and tensions rose. Baraka fought on the front lines, defending his home and his love. Beside him was Ndeti, the Maasai's greatest warrior, a man of incredible strength and skill. The gods watching from the heavens took sides in the conflicts. Mamandunge, angry at Baraka's choice, supported the Giriama, while Nia, still protective of Baraka and Amani, fought for the Maasai. Rain and drought, feast and famine alternated in the lands around Kahawa as the gods themselves clashed over the fate of the city. Amani, safe within Kahawa's walls, was racked with guilt. She saw the suffering her love had caused, the lives lost, the homes destroyed. Every night she wept for her people, for the city of Pwani, and for the Maasai who had fought to protect her, but her love for Baraka remained unshaken. The siege continued and the Maasai warriors fought bravely, but the pressure was mounting. The walls of Kahawa, once mighty, now bore the scars of constant assaults. Baraka and his people were growing weary. Despite their strength and determination, they faced an enemy that was relentless and numerous. Inside the city, Amani's heart was heavy with sorrow. She saw the toll the war was taking on the Maasai people. The once proud city was now a shadow of its former self, and the sounds of battle grew closer with each passing day. She spent her days helping where she could, but her presence was a reminder of the conflict that had started with her. Kivoi, leading the Giriama forces, was growing impatient. The prolonged siege had taken a toll on his own people as well. The once unyielding warrior now faced not only the Maasai defenders but also the uncertainty of the gods' favor. He was desperate to end the conflict, to bring Amani back and to restore his honor. One day, a cunning plan was devised by the Giriama. They constructed a massive wooden elephant decorated with intricate carvings and filled with hidden warriors. They left the elephant at the gates of Kahawa, pretending to retreat. The Maasai, believing their enemies had given up, brought the elephant inside the city as a trophy of victory. That night, as the city celebrated, the hidden Giriama warriors emerged from the elephant. They opened the gates to the waiting Giriama army, who stormed into Kahawa with renewed fury. The element of surprise had turned the tide of the battle. Baraka, who had been leading a desperate defense, was caught off guard. The once sturdy walls of Kahawa fell, and the invaders poured into the city. Baraka fought valiantly, but the battle was chaotic and overwhelming. His heart ached with the knowledge that he had brought this devastation upon his people. Amani, witnessing the destruction, was overwhelmed with grief. She searched desperately for Baraka amidst the chaos. When she found him, he was wounded, his strength fading. He lay on the ground, his face pale, but his eyes still shining with love for her. "I am sorry," Baraka whispered, his voice barely audible. "I never wanted this. I wanted only to be with you. But now," Amani wept as she held him close. "I love you, Baraka. I always will." Baraka's strength faded, and he took his final breath in Amani's arms. The city of Kahawa was now lost, and with it, the dreams and hopes of its people. The Giriama, having finally conquered Kahawa, took Amani back to Pwani, but the victory was bittersweet. The cost of the war had been great, and the once glorious city lay in ruins. Kivoi, though victorious, felt a hollow sense of triumph. The land had been scarred, and the gods themselves seemed to mourn the loss. The Giriama returned to their homeland with a heavy heart, knowing that the war had brought only pain and destruction. In the aftermath of the conflict, the story of Baraka and Amani became a legend among the Maasai and Giriama tribes. It was a tale of love and war, of choices and consequences. The story was told and retold, a reminder of the power of love and the cost of the conflict. Baraka's name lived on, not just as a prince but as a symbol of the price of passion and the burden of leadership. And Amani, though returned to her homeland, carried the memory of her love and the fall of Kahawa in her heart. The gods themselves seemed to mourn the loss, and the land, once vibrant and full of life, slowly began to heal from the wounds of war. The tale of Baraka and Amani became a legend, a poignant reminder of the consequences of choices made in the name of love. It was a story that echoed through the generations, a powerful narrative of the balance between passion and responsibility, between the heart and the sword. Well, that is it for now. We'll be seeing you soon with more stories. Remember to like, share, and subscribe, and tell a friend to tell a friend. It is I, your narrator, Dave Humble. Bye.